and the race pre-build up to the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's going to be round 9 of season 2. It's hard to believe we're almost 9 rounds into the season. It felt like it only started last week, but it has been pretty much 10 weeks since the season has begun, which is just, again, crazy to believe. But we're here with LG Gaffo. How's it
Nope.
going?
Yep, I'm doing great.
That's
Can't
good.
wait for tomorrow.
Exactly. I think I've been excited for Hungary all week. And oh, let me just mute the stream there. So obviously we have a good bit to cover. We obviously have the build up to Hungary. We're going to be discussing the track itself. We'll be talking about Aston Martin's new lineup, which is very exciting. We'll then be looking back at Japan. So through the entire race, who benefited, who had a disappointing race, and just the overall race as well. And then obviously again, we'll be looking at the championships and how close they are going into Australia next week. So first things first, Gaffo, obviously Hungary is probably one of the toughest tracks on the F1 calendar in terms of overtaking. What's your say on it?
Yeah, I think it's a good addition to the calendar. I feel like it's definitely improved over the last game. Obviously not improved as a track itself, but just with the new cars, Hungary feels a lot better. Obviously, yeah, there is that struggle on overtaking, but there still are overtaking opportunities all around the track, whether that be turn 1, turn 2 or turn 4. Um, it's a very tricky track, and I suppose sector 2 is quite annoying, the fact that yeah, it's pretty much side by side no matter what there, but it should give us an interesting race, and you never know who the winner could be.
And going into this week, Gaffo, who can we say that is the team that really needs to benefit from this week? Obviously, not looking at the title contenders, we know what they need to do, but in terms of the midfield, the bottom five, who needs to step up their game this week?
Well, just by looking at the standings alone, I think the favourites obviously are going to be Mercedes and Haas again going into it, and then you could say Alpine as well. Alpine have been strong recently, and they'll probably go into this race with quite high hopes as well.
Yeah,
I feel like again Red Bull and Aston Martin both need to improve. Obviously, Aston Martin have a brand new lineup, and we'll cover that later on. But
yeah.
obviously, Red Bull have our bottom, and they have a lot to prove. And well, we'll see from the two drivers whether they'll do that or not.
Well, if we look at the constructor standings, it is very close between the Mercedes team and the Haas. Only 6 points separate them going into Hungary. The gap is getting closer and closer as the season comes to an end, and it's really looking like this could be shaping up for a season finale with the constructors' championship. Do you think that's possible after Hungary?
Yeah, well, looking at it there, and especially after Alfa Romeo's performance in Japan, they're in a shout with a championship too. It's almost a four-way battle for the win. Obviously, your favourites are going to be Mercedes because they score consistent points every week. I don't see at all Mercedes having a really poor weekend, maybe other than Jeddah. But if you think of it, Haas have been up and down, and I think if the second drivers both step up for Mercedes and Haas, they probably will run away with it. But Alpine and Alfa Romeo, as a team, look the strongest, and I feel they could definitely, if they string their results that they've gotten recently. I'm looking at Alpine with their 49 points, Alfa Romeo 31. That was their best result in Japan. Like if they keep on stringing points like that together, they will win the constructors championship anyway.
Yeah, and let's comment on McLaren. 29 points back from Alfa Romeo and Alpine. Are McLaren now considering to be outside the top three? They didn't have a good race in Japan. Obviously, Rando was missing his teammate, and I think he pulled off the best result he possibly could, P6. But obviously, Shane not racing that race, has it affected McLaren big time in terms of the top
I
three?
I think it definitely has. I think McLaren are slowly, as you can see, there's a trend going that they're slowly kind of just dropping off as the season goes on. Obviously, Austria was a great points finish for them, but be it that was, including the sprint race. Um, but the point system, or the points from McLaren, have been slowly dropping all the way from Britain to now, and I think they kind of, well, I suppose they are going to finish P5 nonetheless because Aston Martin are far back, but they're going to have to put up a real show in these last four races if they want to attack Alpine, Haas and Mercedes into the final few rounds.
Absolutely, and obviously Alpine and Alfa Romeo, they really are looking like title contenders now. They don't sit far off the top two teams, so you're definitely right there in it being a four-way fight, possibly going into Australia or even Italy. But obviously the favourites are Mercedes and Haas.
Yeah, well, they'll always be the favourites because they've the one with the two title contenders in it. But as I said, Alfa Romeo and Alpine both have really strong lineups, and Haas and Mercedes throughout the season have showed that their second drivers aren't showing up. Like Bahrain, Banter King won the race and got 26 points and didn't get any points from his teammate. Same for Netherlands and the same for the US. Like he needs a teammate that's going to be able to consistently score points. Otherwise, they will be swarmed by Alpine and Alfa Romeo, who, as a team, are scoring better points than the front two.
Absolutely, because I spoke to Wicked Red last week in an interview, and he said, he's going to hopefully try and in these last four rounds and help Banter King, but it's obviously his own results as well that he needs to be stepping up in terms of points, because Haas, they have McBot, but Alpine and Alfa Romeo have become a serious threat in just two races.
Mm.
So, yeah, definitely for Wicked Red, he needs to perform in Hungary. He needs at least a
Well,
points finish.
it will be interesting to see how the teams are going to approach these last few races. Are Haas going to go, okay, Ryan, we know all over the course of the season you haven't really been scoring points, so do me a favour and hold up Banter King and let us win the drivers instead of the constructors. It's either they're going for both or they're going for one. We'll have to see how Haas and Mercedes approach it. If they approach it in the fact where you have team orders and you have a number one and a number two driver, where McBot wants to win races and make sure Banter King doesn't, then I think they could be out of the championship battle by Australia or Italy.
Yeah, definitely. And again, when we come back to the drivers' standings, now this is obviously where it's completely out of the world. Banter King leads McBot over 5 points, so it was 8 points going into Japan. It's only 5 points. It could have been McBot leading if he had won Japan, but obviously he was beaten by S Junior. That defeat definitely, I think it hurt him a good bit there. At the end, he was fairly frustrated because I think he knew he would have lost. He would have lose the lead over Banter King because Banter King recovered to a P3. The race tomorrow night, it couldn't be more important. It's for either of them to get pole position. Do you think if either of them get pole position, they have an upper hand on the other?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Hungary is known as Monaco without the barriers, but you still can overtake, and there's a lot of places where you can make a mistake in Hungary, in the notorious Sector 2, obviously. And there's been many times this season, unlike last season, where McBot has made a mistake, and the same can be said for Banter King. Especially in Japan, Banter King made one or two mistakes that could have cost him the win at one point.
Yeah,
But obviously, he done a great comeback drive to get back onto the podium. Obviously, S Junior winning yesterday or last week did hurt McBot, but McBot always will come back, and it's not like he was taken out and scored no points. He lost 7 points in the championship, which, yeah, I suppose could put him in front at the moment. But if he wins next week, no matter what Banter King scores, he's gonna go top of the championship anyway. So time will tell. 4 races to go, and we'll soon see how the two approach it.
and do you think I think we can agree, the both of us, that the pressure is building on these two. Ryan, in my opinion, after his race last week, where he had internet connections, I think he's out of it right now for contention because McBot and Banter King have been so consistent.
Mm.
Do you think the rest of the drivers now are going to try and focus on the constructors rather than the drivers?
Well, we'll see how they approach it. Obviously, you can focus on the constructors, but then you look at people like S Junior. He wants to get as far up and get battling with Griffin and Randall in the 60s, and maybe get into the top 5 himself, because there's personal goals for people. Obviously, Wicked Red, it's the same. He wants to get up into that top 10 along with XD Harrison and Glenn Mack, but we'll see how they approach it. If they feel themselves by looking at the constructor standings that here we could be in for a shot in P6, I'm looking at that battle between Red Bull, Williams and Aston Martin, where they could easily be within a shot of getting up into P6. And then obviously Alpine and Alfa Romeo are looking at that and going, both of us consistent drivers, we can easily win this championship, and it's between them two. Obviously we'll see what happens with Mercedes and Haas, but it's between them two and on what they will do, who will take
Yeah,
the first stand.
absolutely. And let's just take a look back at Japan. It was everyone got away pretty clean at the start. S Junior, he was the one who got unlucky. He lost out, but regardless that, he came back to recover. In my opinion, I would say the team that really did struggle in Japan was Red Bull and was Red Bull and AlphaTauri. Two teams that really struggled that race.
Mm. Well, Harrison still had a decent finish in P8, scoring 4 points, and then obviously it was always going to be a tough race for Gabri after hearing the news of his late granddad. But him himself, and then will be more determined to come back in Hungary, and XD Harrison will also be determined because he's in a battle here, very close with Ryan Kern for the top 10. So we'll see what they do. Obviously, AlphaTauri have been far down the pack this whole race, and although they are level on points with Ferrari, a few string of good results from them could put them into the top 7 and maybe get them in that battle for P6 along with Aston Martin and Williams. As far as Red Bull, I suppose they haven't had, as drivers, really a chance to show that they're worth, especially OP Gamer. He hasn't had much races at all at the moment. Tomas, I suppose, as we've seen so far, isn't notoriously quick, but obviously he scored that P10 and seems like a fairly consistent driver as long as he can keep it on the track. So, yeah, Japan wasn't one for them. We'll see if Hungary is. If not, maybe they'll like tracks like Italy and Australia, where it's all about speed. It's all about downforce, or not downforce, just top speed in general.
And obviously yourself as a former AlphaTauri driver, how does it feel to see AlphaTauri in the season that they're having, just after the first season where they finished, I think it was fifth. I think AlphaTauri finished or something like that, or something. I think it was a fifth AlphaTauri finished last season.
I think it was sixth.
Fifth or sixth.
After, sixth, because of I think obviously my teammate at the time couldn't really score many points, and I was kind of carrying the team, but obviously I don't want to.
But even then, it's much better than it is now. Like, does it kind of?
Well, yeah.
Like, do you feel disappointed looking at AlphaTauri's results this season?
Well, not exactly. I've seen the struggle they've gone through. They've gone through many drivers, and obviously you can't give out to them for that. They've been going through a tough period, and there's always next season, and obviously there's still 4 races to play. They're not that far off P6 and get back up to where they were last year, but they're going to need a good string of results, and I can believe in Gabri. Gabri looks like he can be a fast driver if he puts his mindset to it. Obviously he was all over the place in Japan, with no offence to him, but I feel as well then XD Harrison showed in Austria how really quick he can be, and if he can do the same in these last few races, I don't see why AlphaTauri can improve and get up into P6. Obviously at the moment I am disappointed being a former driver, and I would love to be in that seat at the moment if I could, but at the moment I think I'm still hoping in a better result for the last few races.
Yeah, because it is a good pairing, and I see Gabri how fired up he is every week, and he obviously has the hunger to perform well, and Harrison as well. He just brings that energy that you want in a driver, and he's doing that week in, week out, and he's obviously struggled in Japan. He got 4 points, obviously fair play to him, but I think he knows that he needs more. He needs to try and push himself a bit more and get up into that top 6 where the big points come into play. The last sprint race is Monza. That's AlphaTauri's big chance, I think, to get the points.
Yeah, especially definitely Monza and Australia. I think obviously XD Harrison showed in Austria how quick he was with the podium, but we eventually went down to P5, I think it was.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like it shows that they could be a top speed team because Gabriel scored a point in Austria, so we'll soon find out when we get to there. But at the moment, they need to focus on Hungary, and similar to Japan and maybe Netherlands earlier in the season, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a track where you're going to have to keep your, your mind focused all through the race, and if they don't do that, they'll suffer. But fingers crossed that they won't, and they can get ahead of Ferrari and possibly even Red Bull tomorrow night.
And absolutely. Well, obviously Alfa Romeo capped their second win of the season in Japan. It's the third time Alfa Romeo have won a URC race, and S Junior, he did it in style. He overtook FaZe McBot on lap 26, and then defended on and just had better tire grip on lap 27. I mean, it was truly a revenge comeback story for S Junior. You know, DNFing in Austria, winning in Japan. It couldn't have been more better for him to win that race.
Well, he showed with pace in Japan, obviously not winning, but getting P2 in Jeddah, and obviously had solid pace in US. That he is a really quick driver. He's a League of Ireland Tier 1 driver for a reason. And obviously in Japan, I wouldn't say I saw it coming. Um, he wasn't really, he didn't really look like he was overtaking McBot, but just at the end you could see he was saving his battery just a little bit more and just got a better exit through the final corner and just got by him. And it's really hard to overtake on a final lap because the pressure is there, and you know if you make a mistake, there's no chance to come back. It's the final lap. You get what you get if you make a mistake then.
Yeah,
So I suppose McBot was cautious in that stage. I say if S Junior maybe overtook him a lap or two earlier, McBot probably could have gotten back again. But I think the timing was perfect, and it was a huge, huge win for him, considering he scored no points in Austria.
yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with you. I think Alfa Romeo have had that really good race weekend, and I think they're building up to the confidence now in Hungary. But uh, in terms of weather, now we know it can rain in Hungary. Just how will that impact the the qualifying? We've obviously seen rain impact qualifying before, but this is Hungary we're talking about. It's a much more difficult track, to Silverstone, for qualifying. How will rain change this race?
Well, I've experienced it before, and in qualifying, I suppose I've experienced a wet quali before in Hungary. Like, it's not much of a difference. I feel again, it's just about keeping your car on track and being able to get the lap in. But during the race, it's going to be extremely hard because you won't be able to get the acceleration of the car ahead, and the dirty air means that you won't be able to get a good exit, and it means pretty much it'll be impossible to overtake in the rain unless people make a mistake. So, as a wet race, pole position will be crucial, and especially taking the lead into turn one, that will also be crucial because then it's all down to strategy on how you're going to win that race. As far as qualifying, it's the same as any wet qualifying. It's just going to be a bit more difficult to string in a good lap because obviously it's in the rain, and I actually hope for a wet qualifying because the last wet qualifying we had, it was one of the best qualifyings I've ever seen in both virtual and real life F1. So we'll soon find out tomorrow what the weather's like. I don't think we have a weatherman in URC,
No, we don't.
so we'll soon find out. And if it does, it will only make the spectator's point of view even more interesting.
Absolutely, definitely, I agree with you. Right, as you can see, I'm on the Aston Martin car, and that is because Aston Martin have a new lineup going into round 9 of the season. It's a very late time to join the calendar, of course, and join the league, but Aston Martin's former lineup haven't been consistent in terms of making races, so I made the executive decision to replace them. And their new lineup consists of JJ O'Lancer and Arda the Cypriot, who raced last week in the Mercedes, but now they are an Aston Martin pairing. A very exciting pairing, as I must say, because we don't know Jordan's pace.
Yeah.
We've seen Arda's pace in qualifying, so it looks pretty competitive.
But
Could
obviously he won't be
this
qualifying tomorrow because he has a qualifying ban.
he does have a qualifying ban, but it's really down to Jordan. Is this an exciting lineup for Aston Martin?
We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, the main thing that they will be prepping for is next season. Obviously, only 4 races left. They can't really make a huge dent in the drivers' championship, but they do have a huge responsibility in the constructors. The fact that they are P6 and they want to stay there. So, especially obviously, Arda most likely will not score points tomorrow unless of a huge strategy call gets them far up the pack, because it's obviously really hard to overtake in Hungary, and as seen in Japan, he really does struggle to keep the car over a long period of time, which he couldn't do in Japan, although he can string a good lap together. His general race pace isn't great. Obviously, we haven't seen much, well, haven't seen anything from, what is it, J. Joe Lancer.
Yeah, he's just
Um,
new to the league, so
yeah, well, he's brand new, so we'll soon see what he is. You never know, he could pop in with a pole position and win the race tomorrow, but it's completely unpredictable. But they obviously, as I said, they have a huge responsibility in keeping Aston Martin in P6, so we'll see if they can do that or not.
And does it say something about about the bottom four teams that Aston Martin have remained sixth despite scoring no points in the last 3 races?
Well, it just shows what an opportunity they had missed. If they had maybe got a new driver lineup in um, earlier, they could have been in with a shout with Alfa Romeo and Alpine, or maybe even just slotting in behind them. Because if you look at those first 3 races, they had some great results, and scoring none in the last 3 has hurt them a lot, and that's what's dragged them down into this almost bottom 5 scrap. And I suppose they don't want to be there, but now that they have the competitive drivers again, you'd hope to see them string another few points together over the last 4 races and comfortably finish in P6. Obviously, unless McLaren have a huge howler on these last few, they won't catch up to them. But obviously, as I said, once again, huge responsibility in keeping themselves in P6 and preparing for next season.
Yeah, because it's just crazy that, Aston Martin used to be at least 30, close to 40 points ahead of Williams. They now sit 8 points ahead of the Williams team, who are in P7. So it just goes to show that Williams have been taking advantage, and their last point scoring have been pretty good in the last 3 races. 12 points scored in Japan by Wolves. He's finally looking to find his form again after very, very long in the season, but I think he'll be hoping for a very, very good result tomorrow night.
I think that's going to be the danger for Aston Martin. Wolves, I'm looking at it here, obviously started the season well, had a few bad results, strung 1 point in US, 4 points in Austria, and then got the 12 in Japan. And if he can keep that consistency going, it's going to get further and further, and he could be on the podium yet again. So that's going to be the worry for Aston Martin. Will they have the pace to be able to keep up with Wolves? And obviously Pat Kenny, again, looking at his results, they're slowly getting better. Williams are slowly getting better throughout the season, and it's going to be Aston Martin's responsibility to be able to keep them back.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously this new pairing could offer some great racing. I think we could see great racing from these guys in tomorrow, and obviously in the next couple of rounds. What else is there? So we've covered that new lineup then. Um, Trying to think of what else to talk about.
Wonder, is there anything in the comments? What's the strat in Netherlands? I couldn't tell you, Faze. Probably just mediums to hards and don't get taken out by Darva. Um, Obviously
Or
Monaco
Hayden.
or Hayden. Yeah. No, nothing really else. Just they're calling Ryan Curran a bin merchant and stuff like that. So
Yeah, there's nothing really.
not much going on for questions anyway.
I do obviously think with the last four races, I think the pressure is going to build, especially in Australia and Italy. Maybe not tomorrow, but Australia and Italy, that's where the pressure is going to hit. And then Brazil, well, that's just everything by everyone. But Australia and Italy, two big races there, I think, for chances for, drivers in the who are in fourth, like Marley, Rayan, Rando, Griffin, Shane. They all have chances here to pick up some big points in these next two rounds after Hungary. S Junior as well, we cannot leave him out of it. Ryan, Wicked, and Harrison, very close battle. Pretty much separated by 6 points and 4 points between Wicked and Ryan. Glenn is in that as well. He's just 8 points, but 8 points back. I think Pat Kenny, he's more with constructors now. Storm as well. He's had out of a tough season since he started back in Australia, back in USA, and then the bottom four really is just not looking great. Gabri, Tamaz, obviously the new guys are yet to show their potential, and obviously the OP gamer then is yet to show his true pace
Marley
as well.
has a question for going over. It's an opinion on Mislef and Alpha. So opinion on Marley and Alpha, if we want to
So
go into
yeah,
that
I
and
think
their rise.
I think from looking at AlphaTauri last season, um,
Alfa Romeo, this is.
it just it's like where Alfa Romeo finished last season. They obviously finished, I think it was fifth or sixth. I can't remember exactly, but they definitely didn't have a strong season. They had one win under Aaron Sully, and the rest of the season for them wasn't great. They didn't really perform. This season has been definitely different. Marty's come out with the strong results. He's been definitely on form since the start of the season. A podium in Bahrain, so he started off the season really, really well. He actually led the Grand Prix as well for a couple of laps until Banter King got him. He got 10 points in Miami. He didn't finish Great Britain, but ever since Great Britain, Marley's been on such a consistent run. 10 points in Netherlands, 4 in Jeddah, a podium in USA, 2 points in Austria, and 6 in Japan. He has been unlucky in some races, so he's had the pace.
Mm.
Um, it's the same with S Junior. He might have missed half the season, but he's already showing that he has had promising points with the teams he's reserved for. So,
Yeah.
8 points in Austria, which could have been a race win. 25 in Japan. I mean, like it's been a very good last two rounds for him, and an overall good half season as a reserve. So Alfa
Yeah.
Romeo have been incredible. Like if we just go through their total points of the season, 24 in Bahrain, 10 in Miami, obviously 26 in Great Britain thanks to Jack Hurson's victory, 10 in the Netherlands, 4 in Jeddah, 15 in the USA, 10 in Austria, and 31 in Japan. That was the big point gain for Alfa Romeo that leveled them with Alpine. And Alpine's results are actually fairly, they're not that far off. 10 in Bahrain, 12 in Miami. This is all thanks to Griffin. 2 in Great Britain, 6 in the Netherlands, 17 in Jeddah, 24 in USA, 49 in Austria, because obviously Rayan won the race, so he got the maximum points, and 10 in Japan. Obviously Rayan having difficulties with an internet connection really cost Alpine a lot of points. And in comparison then to the top two teams, it's really been about consistency for Alpine and Alfa Romeo. Banter King has really been carrying Mercedes, as we said. Faze has been doing the exact same with Haas. I mean, his results have been so consistent since he joined in Miami. 25, 18, 18, 38, 8, 11, 20. So it's been really, really good results, practically earned by McBot. And obviously Ryan has earned a couple points in there, but Marley and S Junior have been a good pairing. He's been let down a bit by his teammates, his former teammates. So for him to get S Junior, I think it's just really, really good for him. Um, I think he's definitely more happier with him and his teammate next season. Griffin and the AlphaTauri. It's a very good friendship they have
Yeah.
there.
Obviously,
So
the stat is as well. I think Marley and four of the drivers are the only drivers to have scored in every race except one, being Banter King, who scored in every race. Faze only didn't score in one, and that was Bahrain. He didn't compete. Same with Rando. He scored in every race other than Bahrain, where he didn't compete, and then Griffin didn't finish in Netherlands. So
It
obviously
is quite impressive, isn't it? I think for Banter King.
Himself and Griffin are going to be a huge pairing next year if they keep up that kind of pairing. And S Junior has finished every race he's raced in this league, starting at Jeddah. He finished P2. US, he finished P4.
Bar Austria,
Austria
he
obviously
was
won.
unlucky.
Well, Austria he did score points because he won in Austria. He scored points because he won
Sprint
the
race, yeah.
sprint race, and then obviously he won in Japan. So S Junior could be the man at the moment because some say he should have won in Austria, should have won the race in Austria, but obviously we'll never know if that could have happened. But I say he could be the favourite maybe going into Hungary because the last two races he's finished, he has won. So, and then the pressure is on McBot at the moment to win a race because he hasn't won one since Jeddah, which seems like a long time ago now.
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
So,
Jeddah's been, as was weeks ago, and I think McBot is certainly, feeling the pressure. It's definitely a lot more of a challenge for him this season. Something
than
he
last
said to
season, yeah.
me, that he didn't expect. But Banter King, I think he's scored in every race. I don't know, like there's races where I thought he wouldn't have done it, but he has. He has scored every race. He's done an incredible performance this season. I really think it would be hard for him to accept defeat in this championship if he was to come second, because he's just been, himself and McBot have finished every race in the points, and that is the amount of consistency you want. That's what every driver should be aiming for. Some drivers don't have that skill. They haven't finished every race in the points. They've DNF'd or they just haven't been able to get into the top 10. That's not been an issue for Banter King or FaZe, and it's because of their consistency, because of how clean they race, and obviously overall pace falls into that category. But it's been incredibly consistent between the top two, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Top two are really are miles away from the rest of the pack. As you can see, they're the only drivers to have scored over 100 points, and they're always finishing in the high positions. And obviously, both of them haven't won a race after the break. Obviously, Rayan won in Austria and S Junior won in Japan. So it's the real question is who's going to break first and who's going to win the first race after the season break. Because whoever does win that first race is in a huge advantage now going into the season because they're going to have 7 points more, which means that that's another 7 points that McBot may have to catch up on, or another 7 points that Banter King has to get back ahead on. So it is obviously they have been pulling away, but it's going to be really intense as you get down to the final few races, and then Brazil, the finale. Never been more intense than going to that place. And I don't know what day is that. I think it's the 29th, isn't it?
I think it 29th, yeah, I believe
Yeah,
so.
so I'll be, or maybe that's, no, I think that's Monza. I think you're early. Is that early October? Hold on, let me get the calendar up now. It is, oh, it is, no, it is the 29th, I think. Tomorrow's the 8th, 7th, yeah, the 29th.
Yeah,
So I'll be able
29th.
to, I'll be able to watch that whole race because I won't even be training that day. Um, but I
Might get
won't
you
be
on
back
commentary
until,
for that, so will we?
no, I don't think so because I don't actually think I'll be at home. I think I'm going to a farm with my school and staying the night. I don't know.
Alright, no worries.
But I'll definitely be watching it, and I'll be watching the whole race. So it's going to be an intense finale, and we'll see who strikes first.
Absolutely. I think Banter King was a bit worried that last week that it could have been McBot to strike first, but he was saved by S Junior getting that race win. So it's definitely on in Hungary tomorrow night for these two title contenders. Who will strike first? Will it be Banter King on 128 points, leading the championship for the first time in his URC career, or will it be McBot, who will be chasing a second back-to-back URC title? The pressure is more on him than it is on Banter King. Banter King has nothing to lose, but he has his shot at his first title in this league, and I think it would mean a lot to him if he won it, considering he was the runner-up last season.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, he wasn't really as close, nowhere near as close as he was to McBot as he is this season. Obviously, he's leading it this season, and he has been for the majority of races. Um, but obviously, he's won more races. He's finished on the podium the same amount of times as McBot. No, McBot has finished on the No, yeah, McBot has finished on the podium more times, which could show a bit of a weakness in Banter King's game. That if he doesn't win, he doesn't really finish on the podium much. So the pressure. Obviously, you said Banter King has nothing to lose, but he does have a lot to lose because Face McBot has already won a title, and obviously the pressure will be on him to win another one. But he's already won one, so winning another one or losing another one, he's still already won one. Banter King wants this first one, so kind of like Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, he kind of has everything to lose. So you don't know how you can put pressure on people, but going into the final few rounds, I think more than likely they know that the pressure's on both of them.
Yeah.
It's whoever's going to crumble under it is the question.
And just how crucial would a DNF be for these two lads?
Oh, that could be title ending. Obviously, especially if the other one wins after a DNF, it's going to be really hard to come back from that. And obviously, myself and you know we're in a title contention at the moment, and DNFing like on Monday night is just the most worst thing to happen, especially when your title rivals gain. Luckily, ours didn't. But if Banter King DNFs tomorrow and McBot wins, you could almost say that's the title over, because that's another, 18 points McBot will be ahead, and I don't see McBot dropping 18 points for the last few races. So a DNF could be crucial.
Yeah, if McBot was to win tomorrow night and Banter King was to DNF, that would be a 20-point lead.
Yes, so
which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, because they're gonna have to keep it on track and they're gonna have to keep their pace up. So the barriers are quite close in Hungary, not as close as Monaco is, but it's not difficult to throw the car in the barrier here if you get a line wrong. So we'll soon find out. But
well, especially going into the start of Sector 2, that left-hander, that uphill left, is just going to be very difficult and very easy to actually invalidate your lap time if you get it wrong. So qualifying is going to be so important tomorrow night. I think, all the cars, they'll be taking an easy banker lap. I don't think we might see some of the title contenders pushing their first banker laps, but it's the midfield that will want to keep their laps a bit easy on the first go, and then as the track builds up temperature, we could see a bit more competitive lap times coming in throughout the session.
Well, as seen in obviously I didn't watch Japan, but I got the end of Austria's qualifying, and obviously it did go from dry to wet, and if that happens, obviously as we've seen in Austria, you won't be able to improve, and it's going to be crucial. So you're going to have to, if that is the case, you're going to have to get out early, even if it's intermediates to full wet. You're going to have to get out early. You're going to have to set a good lap and a good and strong lap in as a banker, just in case of a scenario like that. Obviously it happened in Austria, it happened in Mexico last season, and it can happen again very easily. So obviously you're going to need a good banker, and then obviously if the track does warm up, that's when you may have to just throw the whole table at it and hope you can string in a fantastic lap together. So we'll see who sets that fastest lap, because whoever does start on pole tomorrow has a huge chance of winning the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And could we see a 1-2 from the lads up top? Will one of them qualify P1 and one of them qualify P2?
Well, that's probably more than likely, but obviously as Rayan and S Junior showed, they are high qualifiers too. Obviously I would say Arda, who had a good qualifying in Japan, but obviously he has a qualifying ban. So S Junior and Rayan will be up there, as they always will, because they are driving for the constructors, so they'll want to get pole position, they'll want to get the race win as much as McBot and Banter King. It's just a question on who. I think it's between them four, And if it is McBot and Banter King, you could see a very interesting first corner in
Yeah.
Hungary.
I think, yeah, and obviously that first corner, that's what I was just thinking of there. As you said it, I think that first corner is going to be interesting to see who gets taken out. You know, who's going to be the one that gets unlucky, and it could be really fatal if someone gets taken out there, and if it's either one of the title contenders, it's going to be a very frustrated driver tomorrow night if it's one of those.
Well, it's a horrible corner for a first corner. It goes back in itself, and generally, first corners shouldn't really do that. It's a horrible corner, and it's shown in League of Ireland last season, shown in my own league. Like, it can cause absolute chaos. Even the runoff to it, like rejoining the track there, is so dangerous, and it can cause chaos. And if you see a collision, most likely in the midfield, it's not going to be easy. So if McBot does have a bad qualifying, or the same could be said for any of the four quick drivers that we have, if they have a poor qualifying, they could easily get caught up in a bad first corner that's notorious in real life and in sim racing for Hungary. Then they could be in real trouble for not only the championship but the race itself.
Definitely. So I think it's clear to Fraser McBot and Banter King just how important qualifying is, and it's the same for S Junior and Rayan tomorrow night. You know, we have 20 drivers racing for the first time in a couple of weeks. 20 drivers piling into turn one. It could have any outcome, I think, with 20 drivers.
Definitely. Yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, as I said, it's a very dangerous first corner. That first corners going back in itself are really, really, really annoying. Almost like a hairpin, a distorted hairpin, and it could cause chaos. So qualifying will be important, and with 20 drivers going in, I think there will be definitely a lap one safety car. I will put money on it, to be honest.
I would too if I had the money to put on it, to be honest. But yeah, Rando's not racing. He's just confirmed it there, so we only have 19.
Well, we might get this at reserve later on, but we'll soon find that out.
Yeah, maybe. So S Junior, you were right. Someone's not going to show up, and that is Rando. Unfortunately, but I think obviously he's back at college, so he can't race, I guess, which is fine.
Which are 19 full-time drivers out of what is it? Out of 20. Like, that is good. Like, if you can just get one reserve tomorrow, then you will have 20 drivers. So I don't know if you'll want a reserve, maybe, because obviously you don't want stuff battling with the title, but I think 19 drivers is enough anyway for if you can't get a reserve. But
well, I think
having 20 drivers is a lovely show for the league.
Reserve. Like, it has to be like a reserve that will race cleanly and not race like an idiot like Big Git did. Like, he was a fucking tool. Excuse my language, but he was.
He's new to the game for a reason, but we won't go too deep into that.
Idiot. Say that with emphasis. He's an idiot. And Victor Mean, he's also an idiot. Both of them are idiots. Say that with passion and chest. But yeah, looking forward to it, obviously. Tomorrow, hopefully everyone else is looking forward to this Hungarian Grand Prix, because after it, 3 races are left to go. Remember last season, round 9 at Hungary, at Mexico. At Mexico, we had round 9, so now round 9 is at Hungary. And then 3 rounds to go. Australia, Italy, and Brazil. Brazil, the season finale, where it could come down to very, very close, because it's looking close now. It could be even closer by the time we go to Brazil. That has been
definitely
pretty much it, everyone, for the race recap on Japan. Not really much to talk about there of who benefited or who had the worst weekend. We pretty much went over that. FaZe got unlucky. S Junior had a comeback week. Banter King had a good recovery. Alpine recovered points. Alfa Romeo had a strong weekend. And in and obviously some teams there are left to do some and improve tomorrow. But in terms of Hungary, anything can happen in tomorrow's race, and I am definitely looking forward to commentate it after work. So good night everyone, and we'll see you all sometime over the weekend or next week for the Hungary race recap. And then next Thursday, obviously we are in Australia, in Melbourne, for round 10, which is just hard to believe. It's incredible, like, this season's almost over. And then
Yeah,
season
it's flown
3,
by.
yeah, and then season 3 is just even more exciting with the lineups that we have. And yeah, I'm excited.
And I am too. We'll soon find out.
So FaZe has asked about your opinion on who's winning the championship, Gaffo.
Oh, my own opinion.
Yeah.
I think FaZe will win it, and I don't know.
Why do you think he'll win?
I feel like throughout the season, obviously, he's had more podiums, and I feel like if he does get that race win tomorrow, which he probably is the favourite for, obviously he said himself that he doesn't like Hungary, but obviously he loves Monaco, and they have such similar characteristics. And if he gets pole, I think he'll win it. And as you said, first getting that first win after the season break between the top two is going to be huge. And I feel like Banter King, it's his championship to lose because it's his first. So he'll be under all the pressure. Obviously, I'd love to see a different winner, and that's probably why I will be going a bit for Banter King. But obviously, I'm still a neutral spectator to this, and I myself think that McBot will win.
Very, very interesting comment there. So obviously you think McBot will win. I'd love to see Banter King, pull it off. I think he deserves it after this season, after being a runner-up last season. He definitely deserves a chance at it this season, and he's taken that chance week in, week out. So I would hope that he would win it. I think I'm rooting for him to win it. I think McBot's come in to the season late. He's come in a race late, so I don't like, it's not that I don't want him to win it, but I think with him winning 2 championships, it's a clear sign of how quick he is, but it also shows of that respectable battle that he's had with Banter King this season. But guys, that's it for tonight. You've heard the prediction from Gaffo here first. He believes FaZe McBot is going to win the season 2 championship. If you have any other predictions for the constructors championship, put them in the comments, because it's a 4-way battle. As we said, both Alpine and Alfa Romeo sit 19 points off of Mercedes, and they sit 13 points off of Haas. So they definitely have a chance to bring it to the top 2 teams. But in terms of the driver standings, 5 points separate FaZe and Banter King going into tomorrow night. So will it be Mercedes or Haas that win the Hungarian Grand Prix? We'll be here for 9 p.m. lights out tomorrow for qualifying, and then for the race, well, that will probably start 9:20 or 9:30. So we'll see you all there, hopefully. Also, just want to thank everyone for the support on the streams. The views and people watching back the races and liking the streams has been very, very appreciated as well. And so far, the season has been so much better than last season. I think this season will definitely go down as a season to remember. In terms of the good driving style from every driver. So, like, the majority of the drivers have been really good, and the seriousness and the respect to the league is definitely something I didn't see last season. So I'm really happy to see it. Obviously, the server work that Gaffo's done has been incredible. Some really big changes in it, some reworks with tickets and welcoming members. It's something we didn't have last season, and it's just, the league is looking really good. And going forward into season 3, I think we're going to have and even an even better season than season two. If anything can top season two, it's going to be season three, and I'm confident about that. Mark my words. Well, see you in Hungary, and goodbye. Thank you, Gaffo, for coming on
No problem.
tonight, and
My pleasure.
hopefully we will see you for the Hungary recap.
Yep, should all going well.
All right, good night, everyone, and thank you for tuning in tonight. And you've been all much appreciated. Goodbye.